All right, here we go again. Welcome back, everybody, to the Second and Long Football Podcast. Week 5 just happened. My name is Gabe, joined by my co-host Joe. Joe, how you doing?
Doing all right. Been watching a pretty good amount of football. It's been, like you said, we're 5 weeks in now, and things have happened, and we're going to be going over a lot of those things.
A lot of unpredictable stuff happening thus far. I think it's been such a crazy start to the NFL because, there's only, I guess there's, two top teams right now in the Eagles and the Bills. But there's a lot of, middling teams, I feel like. A lot of teams are, in the hunt, 2-3, 3-2. A lot of divisions where, no one's really taken charge necessarily. And so...
Right, and I've heard people question... Oh, sorry to cut you off there. But I've heard a lot of people question whether there's still enough parity in the NFL. Whether or not, all the teams are now at about the same level of talent. And whether that's... And I don't believe that at all. I think that's insane to say. It's so early in the season. Too early to be able to say that, parity's gone. Because, like I said, I just don't believe that at all. That we are now leveling out when it comes to talent, but it's still early in the season, and I mean we've already watched so many predictions and assumptions coming into the season just be shattered, and
I think
decimated.
I think a big part of that too is just the way the NFL did their scheduling. They kind of did have a lot of the supposed worst teams play the other worst teams in the beginning. So, it's not like a lot of these teams have, it's not like the best teams have played the worst teams, throughout the first 5 weeks. It's been, an equal clash, I would say, of,
for the most part,
playing the bottom talent. And I think they did that on purpose to kind of create that, excitement about the start of the season.
Well, yeah, more competition is always good for the sport.
So, honestly, kind of smart for them, but it makes it a little hard for us to know, who's good and who's not. We've seen supposed top teams falter to these other supposed low teams, and, these lower teams, we'll talk about, with the Giants, starting out 4-1 here. It's a bizarre start to the season, but one that makes it difficult, yet still interesting to talk about.
All right, so 5 weeks in, where do we want to start?
I'd say a topic that I know you and I love to talk about. Let's bash on Russ some more.
Yes. I was hoping you were gonna say that. Oh my god. Yes. Okay. I'll let you start. But I'm excited.
There's a couple of interesting things I want to talk about Russ because as a Seahawks fan, I'm happy that he's faltering because he forced his way out of Seattle. It was all the Seahawks' fault for his lack of success, even though he was very successful. It was all our fault. He was going to go to this new team, which, everyone knows, still has a lot of talent, but he was going to go, and he was going to win a Super Bowl because he couldn't do that with the Seahawks, and so he had to get a new change of scenery, and, can we say it's his fault that they're doing this poorly? I mean, the thing you hack is also a big contribution to that as well, but he is just playing well at all in Denver.
No, it's like you said, it's been the best thing ever, especially with how he's been trying to handle this this new system, this new location. I mean, if you did you watch his press conference after the absolute dump he took on the field against the Colts? You,
I only saw the last end of it where he was. Yeah, I only saw the part where he was just "Go Broncos." Let's ride.
Oh no, it was exactly here. Let me see if I can get with this microphone here. Broncos country. Let's ride. Just the saddest, most defeated. You can tell that the wind is completely out of his sails, even though. It was supposedly going to be super successful. His receivers were going to be unstoppable. This amazing, a good line, good running back duo, which now with Javonte Williams being out for the season, which that does suck. It always sucks when someone tears their ACL, which is looking more like a trend than an injury nowadays. To see him go down with it, I think that definitely hurts the Broncos a lot, but that absolutely does not excuse Russell Wilson's play for these past 5 weeks.
Yeah, and even because also Garrett Bowles went down too, but even with Garrett Bowles and Javonte Williams in there, he still wasn't looking that great, and now he's still hasn't caught up at all. You'd think, okay, first couple weeks you'll give him a little bit of leeway, but through 5 weeks and he's looked this bad, I don't know what excuses there are for him at this point. Obviously everyone's going to try, not everyone, but a lot of people will still try to point the finger in a different direction. I know a lot of people are going for Nathaniel Hackett, which also rightfully so. He has not done
very rightfully so
amazing job. But also the thing is you got to realize is Nathaniel Hackett has this system. It worked for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe it worked for Blake Bortles down in Jacksonville. I believe so. He was the offensive coordinator when Blake Bortles had his best season where he threw the second most touchdowns in the NFL back in 2015 or 2016, whatever year the Jaguars made a run. But so clearly he has a system that works, but now you got to ask the question does Russ really fit in any system, or does Russ just want to play his football? Because now we've also seen Geno Smith in Seattle plug into this offense with Shane Waldron, and they struggled last year with Shane Waldron and Russ, but now the offense is looking as it should, and Geno Smith is doing great up in Seattle, which
fantastic up in Seattle.
Anyone predicted.
Which here's if I can take this chance in the last episode of in the last episode of 2nd and Long, I spent a good little chunk of that completely dogging on Geno Smith, saying that he really just didn't stand much of a chance in the NFL. We've already seen what he's done in the past with the Bills and the Jets, and I would like to take this chance to formally, from the bottom of my heart, I am sorry, Geno. I was not familiar with your game. I didn't know that you were planning on throwing 50 touchdowns and 6,000 yards this year. If you would have told me that, I obviously would not have said those heinous things that I said about you. But it's been fun. I was never rooting against Geno. I just was under the impression that he was not good, and that was a wrong impression, as it turns out.
Yeah, I really don't think, going to Geno real quick, I don't think anyone predicted this. I was a big Geno fan as kind of half of it was kind of a joke just because I thought it was I was I can't believe Geno Smith is starting in 2022. But
and I mean to be fair, that was I believe still that at the start of the season that was a fair assumption because you only know what you know, and given his former history, it was only a proper prediction to predict that he was going to falter and fail because all he had done to that point was falter and fail.
Yeah,
but it's so refreshing to see him succeed.
Yeah, and that's something that is nice to me to see because I've always been under the impression is you never really know how good anyone in the NFL is going to do. Every year we have breakout players that no one see where they come from, and that's just the beauty of the NFL is anyone at any moment could play at any level really. And we were seeing with Geno, everyone thought he was this backup who was just kind of washed and was going to be a career backup, but in his mind he was always waiting for this opportunity. He spent 6 years behind Hall of Fame quarterbacks learning and getting ready for this moment, and he has taken the moment and he has grabbed it and he has ran with it. I mean, you got Drew Lock in Seattle too, and so I think that kind of also lit a fire under his ass a little bit because he was thinking, okay, if Drew Lock has a lot of potential, so me and a lot of other Seahawks fans were potentially looking for, hey, maybe Drew Lock can be something, kid with a lot of potential, but Geno Smith said, no way.
He didn't write back.
Potential.
He didn't write back. Simple as that.
He did not write back. And so it's just, refreshing for me to see. But circling back, I think a big part in that is Geno Smith is working with the offense. The offense is in place, and he is doing what he has to do within that offense. He's got this crazy high completion percentage because he's taking what he can get, whereas someone with Russell Wilson, who's always just trying to play hero ball, always make the big play, and so he's not doing well because sometimes his receivers don't get open, and everyone thought, he's going from DK and Lockett to Sutton and Judy. And some people thought that was an upgrade for Russ to do that, which is, to me, ridiculous. But, I mean, obviously now you look at it, and they just have not really, taken that step that people were predicting. And, I mean, part of that is because of Russ. Because, like I said, he's always looking to... And I think Russ's problem is he wants to be the offense. So I think he has a problem, maybe force-feeding some players because he wants to be the face of the offense. He had a problem with Marshawn Lynch in Seattle. There's a lot of reports that we were going to run the ball at the 1 yard line in Super Bowl 49, but Russ made an audible at the last second because he wanted to throw the last touchdown because he didn't want Marshawn Lynch to get the MVP. And so I'm not sure how much truth there is behind that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but also, as you say it, that I absolutely believe that. That it makes sense for Russell to make this kind of call with and you've heard previous teammates of his now coming out saying that, he was he played by a different set of rules. He wasn't held to the same standard as the rest of the team. I believe, it sounds like something he would do to sort of try to, like you said, sort of chase the glory versus actually, I don't know, trying to win the game and walk out of Super Bowl 49 with a ring. And, at the end of the day, he can always say that, God's got his back and that he's all for Jesus. But when you then go out there and you backstab your the team that supported you throughout your whole career, and then proceed to go, 5-12, what's that? It's all for you, Jesus. This 5-12 season, it's all for you.
Yeah, I mean, he got booed for a reason in Seattle.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner's going to come back
well.
in a Rams uniform, which is worse than coming back in a Broncos uniform. But Bobby will come back and get a standing ovation from the crowd in Seattle.
No, he'll get
Russell Wilson.
No, Russell Wilson was very, and when he came to Seattle in Week 1, he was very distant. He was staying on his side of the field. Bobby's going to come back and just start hugging everybody. He's going to go right up to DK Metcalf, throw down a hug, try to, catch up a little bit before the game. Whereas I'm pretty sure if I remember right, Russ just sort of didn't go anywhere near anybody. Sort of gave him the cold shoulder.
He talked to a few of the old players pregame. I know he did a jersey swap with DK at the end of the game. But the big thing was that he didn't talk to Pete Carroll until at the very end. He hugged Pete Carroll for half a second. Didn't really have any sort of talk with them. There was no pregame interaction between Pete and Russ. So I think a lot of the drama
and I mean that's what
lies between them.
That's what you're supposed to do when you're when you've known someone for about a decade. You worked with them constantly. And you constantly preached how much they supported you. You're supposed to give that person the complete shoulder and just ignore them and, get out of the stadium as fast as possible and try to not interact. That's what you're supposed to do with someone who's cared for you and looked after you for a decade, right?
Yeah, especially with, Russ is supposed to have this, nice guy,
all for you,
him,
Jesus.
He's got
he's supposed to be this nice, humble guy that is the least humble player in the entire league.
Yeah, just such a diva, honestly. I heard, I was listening to Kyle Brandt, I believe it was, on Good Morning Football, and he was talking about NFL honors and all this, and how, friendly all the players are. He talked about, because I think Kyle Brandt might, host it, or he's some part of the show, and he talks about how, Travis Kelce will come up to him and, dab him up, talk to him and all that. But as soon as, and, everyone else, too, Mahomes and all that, but as soon as, Russ comes in with Sierra, they have this, attitude about them that they're just better than everyone else.
Hollywood.
I'm pretty sure Kyle
Hollywood
Brandt
attitude.
Russ would like hold the hand up, like, don't even talk to me, like, I'm just here, like, acting totally like Jay-Z and Beyonce, and they're just not that. And I think that's Russ's big problem is he thinks he's like Tom Brady kind of, where he can just go to a new team, like, and win a Super Bowl, but clearly that is just not working out for him. And I don't know.
He can't beat the Colts in a field goal shootout. What possible hope? Like, and this was something I talked about before the season started a little bit, was in Seattle, like, like you were saying, everyone thought, like, he's going to go to the Broncos, he's going to throw for 2,000 yards to Cortland Sutton, and he's going to, have like a 50 touchdown season and just go ham. He was mistake prone in Seattle. He made errors every single game where, they weren't like blaring, unforgivable errors, but this dude is far from perfect, and it's been showing, and he still has the audacity to keep up this persona that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I think, like, what you're saying with the mistakes, that Russ is very good at hiding those mistakes, or maybe not that, where they're just not super noticeable. Like, a mistake that he would make all the time is, like, on third down, it's like 3rd and 4. All he has to do is, like, make a little check down to the running back, or, like, a receiver in the flat. But instead, he's, like, looking for the deep shot, and
what happens?
It's not there. He ends up getting sacked or thrown away. Like,
most of the time, it's a sack. Like 90% of the time, he just takes the sack.
Of course, our offensive line gets blamed for that, and hey, now it's not looking great in Denver either with the offensive line. So maybe it's not the offensive line's problem, but
I know he thought he was running from a bad offensive line to a good one. No, you're still just running. The running isn't stopping, no matter where he goes. He's always going to be running.
Thanks for him running is now we have a better offensive line, because we're able to use that those draft picks that we got from Russ to invest in the offensive line. So honestly, thank you, Russ. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, even when he's not on the team, he's still helping build the Seahawks' future. Go figure that.
Go figure. But something else I want to bring up real quick too. So let's just hypothetically roleplay here. It's not.
Ooh, I like this.
It's not Russ's fault. It's all Denver's fault. Denver, like, we'll say it's Nathaniel Hackett's fault. Nathaniel Hackett isn't giving him a good offensive scheme. Like, maybe in Jacksonville.
It's Javonte's ACL's fault. Yes. Russell is not to blame.
It's it's all on everyone else but him.
Right.
I'm wondering what if Russ went to a team like the Commanders instead, because I think Russ was very much he wanted to go to Denver. I think he made that very clear. But what if he decided, and I really don't know the reason why. I mean, Denver is a pretty big city, I guess, so maybe he just thought the market would be good there, or
Sierra's in his ear about all of that, so I'm sure she had something to say about, market size and all that
stuff. And maybe
stuff.
the legacy too, like they have Elway and Peyton Manning for the Broncos. Maybe he wanted to be like the next great Broncos quarterback potentially. But my question is, what if he went to a team like the Washington Commanders, where they have a lot of offensive weapons? I mean, they wouldn't have Jahan Dotson, but they would still have Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel.
I would even go as far to say Logan Thomas as well, because
exactly.
we still know how much Russell likes his tight ends, and the
Albert
Broncos.
I was just gonna say Albert O has not shown up that much. They're tight end. Like, a lot of people had high hopes for Albert O, but he has just not really produced that much. And I think Logan Thomas could be a better weapon for us to use. But also, I just want to say, I know the Broncos defense has been good, but I think the Washington Commanders defense is better, and they have a lot more talent on that side as well. And so they just and Terry McLaurin is like a true number one receiver, where I don't know, you got Judy and Sutton, and none of them are really coming out being a true number one wide receiver. So it's just, and you have a deep threat in Curtis, a true speed deep threat in Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel can absolutely fly down the field.
100%.
And so it's just my question is, could we have potentially seen a better Russell Wilson if he went to.
And one thing that is pretty interesting to me, and this is something that I just remembered, but either Ron Rivera was in a press conference either yesterday or today, can't remember exactly which, but I don't know, have you seen, do you know what I'm talking about? Ron Rivera, he was asked about the other NFC East teams and how they've all been going through rebuilds in these past few years, but how it looks like a lot of, the other three teams look like they're starting to sort of emerge out from those rebuilds and are now showing off what they've been building over the past few years. And the reporter asked him what he thought was missing, what Washington didn't have that the other three teams did have. What do you think his answer was? He literally just said quarterback. So a lot of... Yeah, I know. Man, that's a team right there. But so what people have been interpreting this as was that he just hates Carson Wentz. Which is, if you actually listen to the whole press conference, like, it does sound like partially that he is throwing shade at Carson Wentz. Like, that's what it sounds like. But the rest of that answer was he was more alluding to quarterback stability amongst the three teams because, the Cowboys have been constantly building around Dak for the past few years. Now, Cooper Rush, but we'll get there. Good God. The Eagles have been building around Jalen Hurts, which I also apologize for all the horrific, horrible slander on Jalen Hurts' name. Once again, not familiar with your game, young blood. Go off. And the Giants somehow have stuck with Daniel Jones as their guy, and Washington has had absolutely no consistent stability in who their quarterback is, and with Carson Wentz's performance recently, it looks like he'll probably go by the wayside too, because the NFL is a very success now oriented league now versus long-term development. But if Russell went there, a question I ask you is, do you really think he would be doing much better? Because we thought this when he was going to Denver as well. We thought that he would be able to use all of these weapons to the efficiency that we thought he did in Seattle. Was it really just Seattle that was helping Russell to be successful and not necessarily the other way around, where Russell was helping Seattle be successful? What do you think about that? Right, yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Twice, I think. Yeah, that sounds right. Just general decisions. No, you're absolute. Like, I agree. Like, Ron Rivera, I think, could probably build a decent team around someone like Russell Wilson. Hell, he did it with Cam and got them to a Super Bowl. There's no reason I don't think that he could do that with a talent like Wilson. But what my question more is leaning into is how much of Russell's, recent blunders are just him, are just like him as a person. And I mean, also, of course, him as a quarterback, that can't be exactly overlooked, but just like who he is in the locker room, because it seems like, people for years have more or less covered for him to, like, try to, make him sound more like the humble, appreciative, guy that he wants to be seen as, and then turns around, backstabs, his gigantic ego. Russell sounds like a guy that won't get out of his own way and you know, just play versus trying to be this personality that just isn't working completely. And yeah, that was more of a climax than an acute reaction to him missing him. Which, I mean, obviously, yeah, if I was in his shoes too, just in that isolated incident, and if I were missed, I would be really pissed too. But I don't know if I would be take off my helmet and pound it into the ground mad. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's week 5. You're fine. You still have time, but no, like you said, like that doesn't come out of nowhere. That's not something that you do just hear the moment reaction. That's a lot of building up to that moment, which makes me wonder, like, go over the past 5 games and see how KJ Hamler has been doing just entirely. If that's just Russell's missed him multiple times, but he just also missed him in that really crucial moment. Yep, yep. But it's just disappointed. Well, no, how could you get behind him now? Well, yeah, that wasn't a small check. Yeah, that wasn't a small check that they wrote him. Yeah, their future. Their future, yeah. Right. Like, more like something with, like, sort of similar to Rodgers. Like, in that heated sort of, I don't know, the time when Green Bay was, like, considering shipping him out, he was considering retiring, all that. And Green Bay for a good amount of time was not an attractive destination because it was like, do you side with Green Bay or do you side with Rodgers? And that's sort of what Seattle turned into was, do you side with the team or do you side with Wilson? And that's never a good dynamic to have in the locker room. And that's clearly shown with A, Russell's inflated ass head, and B, fan and even player reactions to Russ just A, underperforming, and B, just being kind of an asshole. I mean, as a Chargers fan, I'm thrilled. Like, I'm probably just as thrilled as you are. Yeah. Yeah. High five through the camera. Boom. Or through the microphone. Boom. Yeah. No, we're dancing on his grave. Absolutely. It's observations. Yeah. And now his deep ball isn't really there. I saw that too. I saw that too. That was so bad. In flames. No. Well, yeah, and in just while we're talking about the Seahawks defense, as a Seahawks fan, how do you feel about Tariq Woolen? Because that guy is so exciting to me. To even catch up. That's the comparison we're running with? We're running with an adult chasing a toddler. I mean, no, I totally get that. I like it. It makes sense. It's just an odd picture in my head. But no, that's what I was gonna talk about. Along with the fact that, Tariq Woolen he was a fifth round pick as well, and I mean they did just put up 40 against the Dolphins, and I mean I guess he held that third string quarterback only to 17 points. So yeah, go Sauce. Yeah, Skylar Thompson. Uh, uh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Go Wildcats, apparently. But yeah, Yeah. And I mean, yeah, the angle I was going for with that was, he was a fifth round pick. So was, I think Richard Sherman was a fifth round pick too. Richard Sherman. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Right. And physicality. Right, yeah. No, I would love to see Seattle go back to their roots, sort of striking gold on late round picks and building the team that way. And it does help when you get three first round picks from Denver, and those picks are looking pretty nice right about now. And if they can go back to building a good secondary and having really good depth, I mean, Seattle's a team right now that's future is looking a lot brighter than it was before the season started. It was looking glum, like it was, whether or not Seattle was going to go into a full-blown rebuild or just that they already were in a rebuild. And now it looks like, I don't know, are they making a run in 2 years or even a year? Hell, this year's not over. I mean, I mean, yeah, it's really, it almost feels like it's the 49ers to lose, sort of. Like, I know. It's not. It's not. Yeah. And, I thought Kittle was going to start performing better with Jimmy moving to QB1 after Trey Lance's ankle exploded, but that hasn't happened either. He's on my fantasy team. He fell off the face of the earth. He has not been doing much of anything. He hasn't really had that big of a role in the offense. It's been, Debo and not Elijah Mitchell. What's the? Am I thinking of Elijah Mitchell, or did he get hurt? I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, they've always had pretty good running back depth, but even still, to get Kittle, like, I don't know, like just a couple looks a game, like that's one of the best tight ends in the NFL, and he has just seen like nothing in terms of offensive workload. Maybe. Well, yeah. And I mean, his run blocking is still some of the best in the league, but he just hasn't had a lot of time with the ball in his hands. Yeah. Okay. Really? No Tariq Woolen. No, he ain't no Tariq Woolen. Yeah. Right. Oh yeah. 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 Even a even a 300-yard, 3 touchdown, no turnover throwing game from Geno is not enough to put the Seahawks over the edge. And yeah, what year is it? What freaking year is it that Geno Smith and Andy Dalton are playing each other and they're starters in a game? What is happening? Oh, that throw to. I'm thinking about the one to Lockett of like over two defenders and right into the breadbasket of Lockett. That was Herbert esque. That was a beautifully placed throw. Yeah, this is not the Geno of old. He he'd be on ESPN for a week. That's fair to say. I think that's fair to say. Highest completion percentage through 4 games in NFL history. I think it's safe to say that he's blowing away expectations, which I don't know if you watched the preseason, but he looked rough in the preseason. He had turnovers and it looked like it didn't he didn't look ready. And but something that I've been, thinking about is maybe he just got the kinks worked out in the preseason. Like the little like issues and all these other quarterbacks just look, there are a lot that look pretty rough. Do you think that maybe Geno playing in the preseason right now is giving him a bit of an edge? Like a little bit of extra time on the field to see his reads develop, like just more time in pads on the field, like just putting him over the edge against, other guys that sat out the entire preseason and are now going up against a, well in rhythm Geno. Yeah. No, that he's solidified in the starting position. Like, it's, and again, if you told me this before the season, I would have slapped you in your big dumb mouth. But now that's a safe thing to say that Geno has more than won the position. And I remember when the news first broke that Geno had won the starting job. I was like, oh my god. All right, well, hang him up. Seahawks are going 2-15. Like, I was not at all prepared for the, resurgence of Geno. Just there was no calling it. I swear, if Geno leads the Seahawks to the playoffs, that'll be the funniest thing that's ever happened in my entire life. Oh my god. Imagine that world. We might very well be in it. Oh, for sure. For sure. Right. Right. Yeah. Good God. No, and like I said, if he leads this team that was supposedly in a full-blown start from scratch rebuild, Hall of Famers gone, yeah, like, Seahawks are going number one or bust. Like, we have to start from scratch, cut everyone. I mean, they cut Bobby. It looked like everything was pointing towards just starting over completely. Oh, we'll see you in 5 years in the wild card. But if this team, like, if they make the playoffs, let alone if they win the division, and they get if they get the 4 seed, like, yeah, this is this is possible. This is possible. A Geno Smith home playoff game. I mean, also, I will just say it's entirely possible that this is a 5-week fluke and he nukes the end of the season. Like, the next 12 games are just an embarrassment to football. because his history is still something to consider. Even if, you're running a business and you're, hiring someone and, they killed someone 20 years ago, even though maybe they've done a lot of rehab, you still gotta consider that history. And I mean, it's not, obviously that's not a clean-cut analogy, but if Geno can overcome all of his history, overcome all those doubts, if he keeps that pen down and doesn't write back to any of the haters, it's not impossible for Geno Smith to get the 4 seed, win the division, and get the Seahawks into the playoffs. What am I saying? What are we doing here? How are we at this point? It's only week 5, and my tune on Geno has changed this much. I mean, I have to. I'm not... Yeah, it's like you can't. And I mean, I'm not going to be like a Stephen A. Smith and completely ignore all evidence and then just talk louder to sort of like, well, you listen here. No, it's like he's proving me wrong. He's doing way better than expected, and I have to give props when props is due. No, Abe Lucas has been another good resurgence for them too. Yeah. That's about as far as the Seahawks were gonna go. Another. No, I was too. They're all over the place. And I mean, yeah, like, as an exercise science major, this is something that, the force coming back into your legs is, that is a decent determinant for those kinds of injuries, for those non-contacts. It's, that kind of repetitive force, and, turf is giving more of that back to you, whereas, the grass can absorb more of that. And, sure, it's a little bit more, like, you have to maintain that grass, you have to clean up dirt spots, but I feel like that's worth not having half of the NFL on IR the entire season. I don't know what you think about that, but yeah. No, yeah. Also, I think Roger Goodell has a budget for keeping a couple of grass fields in order. I mean, it's not exactly like these owners are like, doing that thing where you pull your pockets out and it's just the inside of your pockets. No, they have, their money stacks have money stacks. So I think they could swing keeping up a grass field. That's not. Well, yeah. No. But the turf looks pretty. No, it can't. It's turf. Dozens of torn ACLs. Like, well, yeah, it's hard to even talk about the NFL now without also bringing up the amount of horrific injuries that it's almost like white noise with how many season ending injuries, like just week to week. It's like, oh, there's another one of my favorite players that might not play again or won't play for 2 years. And when he does, he won't be the same. And it's all because the owners like turf fields. Yeah, for the love of yeah, beat his name to death in this episode. Yeah, and because your team doesn't have a quarterback, players don't want to go and play for those teams, and so your team is overall worse, therefore overall lower records, and therefore like just lower overall income, and you're buying a team for however many billions of dollars, and you just end up losing it because you can't have a good team. But remember though, the turf fields look pretty. And you can change out the end zones really fast, and you can have all these colorful end zones. Remember that when you see, you know, just your favorite player bust their knee because they were jogging on the pretty field. I don't want to use any names as examples because I know for a fact I'll jinx whatever name I say, and it's a guaranteed season-ending injury in week 6. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they had the potential to. Yeah, no. A part of me wants to think that right now Saquon Barkley is having a Jonathan Taylor effect uh on the team overall. When he's successful, the team is successful, and I mean, just take the last game alone, 70 yards with a one touchdown, and he's been pretty involved in their passing game too. So it's also I do think the league is better when Saquon is there and being successful because we knew he was going to come out and you know out of sorry when he was at Penn State we knew he was going to come into the league and, generational talent. Obviously, he's been struggling with injuries over the past couple of years. But now it looks like he's back, and he's right back where he started, showing off why people touted him so highly. I knew he felt bad, like similar to what you said about Rashad Penny, about, being injured and, not being able to, produce the way that the team wanted him to. And now Saquon is finally back, and he looks like he's having a ton of impact on the field. So if Daniel Jones doesn't have to do all that much to be successful, if every play action works, if every RPO the defense bites on Saquon, that opens up more doors for Daniel Jones and the receivers to be successful. And the defense seems to be holding up its end of the deal, at least as much as it can. So this is a really cool Giants team. Like, it's not overly exciting. It's not, going to lead to sold out games, but it's just cool to see that, Saquon still has that in him to show up and give the team success. Right. Honestly, with the way 3 out of those 5 quarterbacks went outside of obviously Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, like, maybe he should have been number 1 overall. Maybe, and then maybe, you trade up that pick that you used to get Nick Chubb, and instead you get Lamar Jackson. And I don't know, it's a different Browns team if you ignore, you know, all opinions from what it was back then, and you just, what's the saying? Hindsight's 2020, you know? So that's how I look at it from there. Like, the Browns could, obviously be dominating if they had eyes into the future and could see where everyone was going to end up. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, Saquon probably coulda, shoulda, woulda gone first overall, but I don't know. Him as a Giant just feels right. Yep. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, for the first couple of years, Saquon's injured and, Josh Allen's throwing duds into the stands. So, for the first couple of years, it's rough, but now, yeah, that's terrifying. Who do you pick? Who do you pick? Like, if it's an RPO, who do you pick? Or does it even matter? No matter what, yeah. You want to stop Josh Allen? Okay, Saquon Barkley's going to run through you and your entire family. You want to pick Saquon? Okay, Josh Allen's going to throw a 60-yard bomb over your head and hit someone wide open. Congratulations, you're a loser no matter what you decide. Yeah. Well, he sure as hell doesn't have Kenny Galladay. Yeah, sometimes you swing and you miss. Yeah, just for the other team to give back a seventh. Yeah, exactly. Just please, someone take this awful player for way too much money. I think so. Oh, yeah. Not exactly. Yeah. I know, no matter how good the Giants do, it's just gonna be, oh, this is the worst insert record ever. Like, just not giving them any credit. That's the funny thing to me about, like, take, like, what we were just talking about, Seattle, and compare it to New York. Who do you think people right now are talking more highly about? About freaking Geno? Because, like, people are now giving Geno, like, obviously they're giving him well-deserved respect that he's, earned up to this point, but yet they'll make excuses for the Giants' success rather than just saying that a 4-1 team is playing like a 4-1 team. Okay, sure. Ooh, that's a good question. Well, when it comes to who's more scary, it's really a full assessment of both teams. And it's really in the playoffs, what has mattered every single year is which team is more complete, which team, has less holes. Because, and again, I can't believe this is coming out of my mouth, but right now I'd rather have Geno Smith compared to Daniel Jones. They should have invested in what they had. Yeah, should have locked him down on a 20 mil. But was that Geno? That might have been Geno. No, he was. Oh, we're in this point of the podcast. He was playing like shit. We've already dropped an F bomb. Like Eli Smith was playing like shit. Let's not sugarcoat it. But yeah, I want to check that. real quick. I want to see if it actually was Geno that broke that streak. Yeah. Oh God, here it is. Giants from the Washington Post. Giants and Eli Manning's 13-year streak will start Geno Smith. Yeah. 5 years ago. Well, the Lions are a whole other mess of what the hell right now. Because, I was saying at the start of the year that, this could be like a sneaky playoff team. And now I just don't know what the hell to make of them. It's like, is Jared Goff good? Is he not? The offense is playing great, but then they put up a goose egg against New England, and the defense sucks and is still sucking and is still giving up buckets of points, and the offense is inconsistent, but when it's on, but when it's off, it's, oh my god, terrible. I honestly, it's hard to even say with the Lions as an organization, because obviously I still love Dan Campbell. There's nothing to not like about him, but yeah, that's probably a lot of credit for their success can go to him for sure, but oh god, Anthony Lynn. Don't even get me started on Anthony Lynn. Yeah. He very clearly cares, but he's also, he has that intelligence of a good, of a coordinator. He can back it up. He does. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we're now getting to the hour and 14-minute mark. Maybe one more smaller topic, and then we go ahead and put a ribbon on this thing. Well, obviously, if you give me the floor, you know where I'm going. Let's go to LA. Yeah. Okay. Love it. Love it. All right. Yeah. So, okay. Um, this has been a weird year for the Chargers so far. We've been dealing with a lot of injuries, a lot of key injuries. We haven't had Keenan Allen since week one. Rashawn Slater is now out for the rest of the season. J.C. Jackson just came back, but he hasn't quite looked like himself, so he'll probably still take a couple weeks of rehabbing that ankle to truly get it back to 100%. Uh, let's see. Joey Bosa's now on IR. Yeah. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, obviously, because I've seen the same results on the field as everyone else. He has given up a lot of big plays to lower caliber receivers, but I also know that in a press conference he said that he's still not quite all the way back. And to let that be known is something that's not really commonplace in the NFL. Generally, a lot of guys like to keep that in their chest. And, Herbert in an interview today, someone asked him about his ribs. He's just, yep, feeling good. Like, as quick and dismissive as he could be on that response, which you have to. You can't tell your opponents that you're like, yeah, my ankle's bothering me. Well, guess where they're going to be aiming on their next tackle? Yeah, you're going to have a shoulder pad in your ankle. So, he said he's not all the way back, which in my mind, I jack that up a little bit, which is, he has to try to downplay it as much as he can, but even in a press conference, he still can't completely downplay it. So I imagine he's still playing with a good amount of pain, and probably same as Herbert. But I obviously, and like I said, I've seen the same thing on the field. He hasn't been playing all that well, but I still give him benefit of the doubt as he's just coming back off this injury. So I think he'll turn around before the end of the season, definitely. By a mile. No, absolutely not. Asante Samuel has been balling out. I feel a full head of confidence when I see anyone line up against Asante Samuel. When I see the ball go his way, I'd say a little over half the time that ball's either in his hands or on the ground. So, no, Asante Samuel's he's been playing great. I've been loving watching him. And also someone I, of course, need to mention, the Khalil Mack trade was amazing. Khalil Mack is playing his heart out, and he is a force on that edge, as, he was definitely going to be. This is like, God, Russell Wilson trade. Everyone thought that was just going to be, I can't help it. It's just such an easy example, but everyone, it really is, but everyone thought that trade was just a slam dunk, no room for error, this is obviously a win for Denver. But it was a lot of that same energy around the Khalil Mack trade where it's this is obviously going to work. But then it did, because Khalil Mack has been a cornerstone. And on top of that, also got to say Derwin James is the best safety in that NFL, hands down, in my opinion. He's... How dare you? How dare you speak about Jamal Adams in the same breath as our Lord Derwin James? That is blasphemy. No, you don't. No, you get to talk about Quandre Diggs and you're gonna like it. Well, Derwin James has been, so yeah. No, never do that again. Never. Yeah, they're not even in the same league. Jamal Adams is gonna be XFL anyway. And the offense has looked great too. Even though we've lost Jalen Guyton to season-ending injury, we've lost Rashawn Slater, but Jeremy Saylor has been. He's taken over the left tackle role and has been playing his heart out too, which I love that, next man up sort of mentality. And anyway, Mike Williams has been an amazing deep threat. He's been, I'm really happy we re-signed him this past offseason to a 3-year, I want to say $60 million. Yeah, so I've been loving him, and God, what's his Joshua Palmer. Yeah, I don't know where that name went. Joshua Palmer's been playing amazing, and another one that I really love is what's his? I'm losing all these names. Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett has been that's been another guy that's been, Oh my God, he's sort of filling that role that Antonio Gates did of, not doing a ton of run blocking and mainly playing as a receiver. He is doing things that he was never doing in Seattle. And I think some of it has to do with him being with his old coach, Brandon Staley, which I have choice words for him right now, but I'm still going to give Brandon Staley the benefit of the doubt as well, because I kind of sort of have to. But yeah, no, like the Chargers as a unit has been just so well meshed up to this point, and Austin Eckler has been, like, he had a rough start to the season, but now he's fully in rhythm, and the Chargers' future is looking bright. Yes. I think it's just LA. Like, the Rams Chargers, he does great, yeah, but he throws on the blue and green and forgets how to play tight end. I thought he might have too. Yeah, and that's not to speak illy on Parham at all. He's still been playing. Well, now he's back and uh, from injury. He had something else going on with him. I forget exactly what the injury was, but yeah, he'll come back. He'll produce the same way he did, and I just have a lot to look forward to with the Chargers. We just escaped from 2 games in a row against the Texans and the Browns, but I think this is just a team figuring out what it wants to be, and Brandon Staley's trying to hold them back as much as possible. So we'll see what happens with the yeah, we'll see what happens with the rest of the season. But gone, gone. I think you can't take a roster with this much talent and tank it. You absolutely, like, he would not get away with another 9-8 season. Absolutely not. Especially, and also with the fact that you're not going to blame the GM or the owner. The scapegoat has to be someone, and I think that in this case it would more than likely end up being Brandon Staley. And honestly, if the Chargers could go out and get like a Sean Payton, he did say if the situation was right, and if that guy is available and Brandon Staley is still making suspect calls, even if they work and going for it there at the end of the game on your own side of the field, trying to put the ball in the air and trying to let the Browns back in, but thank you, Cade York. Uh, you know, if they don't make the playoffs, the only real person that you can turn it to is Brandon Staley. So no, his job is in jeopardy if, and this is if they don't make the playoffs. I think if they do, I think he at least buys himself another year to up his consistency. But no, he's got to start, making better calls, and he's got to start succeeding with this high caliber roster now. Drew Brees. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's about time to cash in our IOU. Yeah, congratulations on your career, Sean, but pay your piper. Yeah, no. Well, I would throw in Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, I'd say Brand Staley's third in line, and it's not because the team's bad or that we have a losing record. It's just based off of poor decision making, and it's like he's seemingly not setting the Chargers up for the most success possible. So Well, yeah, duh. Yeah. Well, no, yeah, see, and this is just evidence building against Brandon Staley of making poor coaching decisions, and I don't even need to talk about Week 18 last year. That just speaks for itself. Fucking dummy. That was a... But there's just so much to be said there that I would rather just... Like, we still got time. He still has time to make up for all of these awful, terrible, no good, very bad decisions. But we'll see how this pans out. And now looking at our timer, we've been going for an hour and a half. Yeah, we're put a ribbon on it. I think we did good today. So, yep. Yeah, happy birthday, Geno. Treat yourself. Do something nice for yourself. Like get back in the lab and make sure that you can keep this up. Because don't make me eat my words again. But yeah, just please let me be right this time. But yeah, happy birthday, Geno. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. If you want to go ahead and give us a follow over on Second and Long podcast over on Instagram and Second and Long on TikTok. We appreciate you guys listening. I'm Joe, and we will see you guys in the next one.